What's up? So I'm at the park in the morning. Very very sunny, very sunny. Um and I look great. I look very great. Um but I'm not feeling great. Um and again, I've been rethinking my life. I've been reflecting on my life and how I want to go about things, and I've come to several conclusions. I've been dealing with a lot of health problems, and I've been trying to recover from night shift, and apparently I've again, I try to make the best out of things. Things I've gone through, I could help others get through, not make the same mistakes I made. One of those things is working way too hard, you know quitting when I shouldn't have. And what I really wish I did, when the economy was pretty decent, was, I just worked and did the bare minimum and invested. And I didn't buy that much, but moved somewhere cheaper. Sorry, it's sideways. I have like I have a charger. And I didn't sleep last night. Again, I'm trying to slowly recover my health. My hope is that, like, I could take things slow, and slowly I'll recover and start feeling better again, like my usual self. Able to run, sleeping is good. Wake up in the morning and go to sleep at night. But again, I've made videos about what happened, and I didn't get that because simple argument with my mom, and it turned into a full-blown argument when my brother got involved. And then, again, every time that happens, my eyes open. My eyes truly open, because my brother is not a bad guy. He's not a bad guy, but he did something that was smarter than me, and that is to not play life at all. And my life was just full of hurt just for playing the game. And I feel completely damaged, betrayed. My life would have been better if I just, did things, just waited, did things a little later, not cared about what others, thought, just because, again, like, I was making friends, and I don't have those same friends. But yeah, before I even started working, I was totally obsessed with health and stuff, And again, I got back into, like, how I used to live before I started working, Infinite Waters videos. But it is what it is, it is what it is. And I'm not changing my thought about this. My situation is perfect, situationally, just by looking at the rent. I don't care. I just don't care anymore what people think. And I'm kind of more aware of things now, aware of, like, the rich people, and, like, they predict, they can predict human behavior, and, like, they rely on, like, certain patterns of people, and men are just totally disposable. They're used, and I got into being disposable myself, and now I'm waking up to it. Already considering drafting people in my generation to fight in a war that has nothing to do with us, absolutely nothing to do with us. And we've lived a life of just working and paying taxes, and no changes in the prices. Everything just keeps going up. It's like, okay, what is going on? Oh, it is for the rich people. Yeah. So I'm getting too political, but I don't even know what this video is about, man. Other than that, my situation's perfect. Everything is perfect. My life is so rare. but that's the perspective I hold now. I could see, but not clearly. You know, my vision is getting bad. Um, Gotta get that checked out. Night shift is completely throwing me off. Um, and I started growing beards. Like when I started working night shift, I started growing beards. I think it like really did something with my hormones, you know? Like that was weird because like I never, like it was hard for me to grow beards and like start like having like a beard. Like hair started growing from my chin easily when I started working night shift. I'm not sure what that's about. But again, I started feeling sick, you know, when I started working night shift. And man, I met a lot of people with like demons, you know, during that time. It was not good. But it's understandable because it's stress. It is just stress, you know. And I believe, yeah, I you know, you can't hate on David Goggins, man, but you can't combine a stressful life with just constantly pushing through, you know. But we do need fighters. We need absolute warriors to just fight against like evil shit. But you know that actually involves throwing away your life, you know. Because you know the things that David Goggins does is some risky shit. You know, your body could just totally give out on you when you like do all that. And what I mean, like I just like I'm not saying David Goggins like, you know, him alone. I mean the whole mentality of just like going at it and like grinding hard until you're a fine powder. That just means you're grinding yourself to death. And you know, I used to use David Goggins as motivation to like work, you know, during my prime. And I see it as total foolishness now. And you know, maybe it's depression talking. Maybe I'm just depressed. You know, maybe I'm hurt, but you know, like things when 2025 began and like AI became like more prevalent, you know, I just started becoming a little more aware of things, you know. And I wanted some answers. And yeah, I found out like, hey, you know, you don't have to do these things. But yeah, I'm starting to realize, yeah, I am kind of like a broken record when it comes to my videos. You know, I'm talking about the same things over and over again. But you know, I don't want to work anymore. I don't want to work anymore, you know. I'm not sure what it is. I just want to retire. I don't want to do it anymore, you know. Because I grew up like this, you know. I had it hard in school, and I would come home to like a very problematic family. There was this YouTuber called Daddy05, and they had kids, and I saw behavior in these kids that came from like problematic household. And it's no surprise, you know, it's no surprise that people are just you know, it starts at home, you know. It really just starts at home. But again, you know, I have it good, you know. That's how I see it. I don't have to pay rent. But you know, when I started working, and I feel like I just didn't have to do it, you know. I just didn't have to like work. and I quit at like a very bad time, because like I was home, but I just wanted my life back during that time. So yeah, I think I'm just going through, coming to terms with things, how I've just completely damaged myself. But I am not gonna take my trauma out on other people. That is my absolute promise. I am never going to take my trauma out on other people. I see people do it all the time. All my stress, all whatever I'm going through, none of that. I'm not gonna do that. I believe in a thing called karma. I've seen people who have wronged me, crash out and do all kinds of crazy things. And God just completely punish them. Yeah, I believe in God. I'm a Christian, even though like I'm getting into like the adult film business. And as because it's like, fuck it, man, just fuck it, like I've fuck it, I'll reference him, Jimmy Bull. Jimmy Bull's been through some, he's made some, he's lived a life of like crime, but he's like, fuck it, I'll do all that stuff, get paid for it, but maybe I don't have to be an adult star, but I'll also I'll do it, like there's money in that. Maybe I'll be like faceless and stuff, but I got 12 minutes. No, it's been 12 minutes. I'm sorry. There's just people walking by. But it's okay. Change of subject. So, yeah, I'm focused on more of just getting better in general. Like Infinite Waters videos. So Ralph Smart, I watched him before I even started working. Ralph Smart, Infinite Waters. And that guy is to the root of the problem, and it's trauma. But people get traumatized and they just take it out on other people. And men are alone, but not really. We've just been conditioned to be certain ways and behave in certain ways, and like social conditioning to not seek help and just power through it. But now I'm learning I really should just ask for help and not cared how people perceived me. Good morning. She's sweet. So, it's a great morning. The price of rent really does people a disservice because they can't get away from bad people. But it's possible. It's possible to just take yourself to a spot where you actually have support and friends. Some people are just born into like problematic places. They get into gangs, but it's best not to lose hope. But we could fix this, to the root of it. Just but there's always a solution. There's always a solution. There's always hope. But that's about it, man.